Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trades Talk Tuesday. I am your host, Pop Culture Mechanic. You can call me Pop for short. Today, I have another special guest is joining me. Her name is Cece Dee, and she is in the millwright trade, much like myself. And we'll just bring her on here. Welcome.
Hey, Pop. Thanks for having
So,
me.
yeah, thanks for being here. It's great. So, um, Well, first off, let me start by saying um, thanks for being here. And we're just going to go through a little bit of your past, if that's okay. Did you get into the trades right out of high school? Or what was your story?
It was kind of a bit of a journey to get there. I actually went to university first and then dropped out of university and came home. And then my dad asked me, he said, "What's your game plan?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And he's like, "Well, you need to pick something." And I was like, "Okay." And actually, when I was younger, he kind of picked the millwright trade for me. I think it was in like grade 7 or grade 8. And they're like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I was like, "I don't know." And then my dad was like, "Why don't you just be a millwright?" And I was like, "Sure." So that's what I did my report on and put that in. And then throughout high school, I changed my mind a whole bunch of times. I was going to be a teacher and then went to university to be a teacher. And then I ended up going to a college in Ontario for mechanical maintenance and control. So I spent 2 years doing that and then popped out into the trades after that. So I would have been, I think, around 21 when I started, maybe 20.
Okay.
So it was a nice little journey to get there, anyways.
So that must have been something anyway when you were uh, in grade 7 and your dad's like, you're going to be a millwright. A
Right.
what?
And yeah, it's funny because I was always taking things apart, or I took a bike apart, never put it back together, or a bunch of random things I was always interested in. He was very curious all the time of what I was into. So he knows me quite well. So he picked a good one. And he'd always have me read the manual of everything that we had. Any car I got, I had to read the manual before I drove it. Did oil changes with him, kind of everything. So he kind of knew. And then he'd make me do random projects. He'd have me solder things in the garage. I'm like, "Why am I doing this?" He's like, "Because you need to know how to do it." And I was like, "Okay." Perfect. So
Nice. That's good.
yeah, yeah. He
It
kind of
seems
led
like
me
you
into
took
it.
to it. Yeah, it seems like you took to it very well.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
Although
Very
taking the
thankful
bike
he
up, take, yeah, but say taking the bike apart and not putting it back together. Oh, just shake my head at you.
right? I'm sure that still bothers him.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
So then sorry, you're in Ontario. You took
Yeah.
your mechanical course there,
Yeah. It was a
and
2 year
Where'd you go?
diploma.
Okay,
It
and
was
where'd you go
it was
from there?
awesome. Yeah, so in between years they had a call out to work at the nuclear plant for like co-op students. So I applied to that, did all the
Okay,
testing and interviews, and I actually got chosen to do that. So my first technically millwright job was at the nuclear plant, which was pretty cool doing that for the summer. And then I went back there through another company after. And then when work slowed down, my friend was out here already in Alberta. And I was like, "Oh, there's not a ton of work here." And she's like, "Why don't you move to Alberta?" And I said, "Okay." And packed my truck and I drove across the country. And my dad came in clutch again because he's like, "Why don't we meet for dinner before you go?" And I was like, "Okay." And we're sitting at the table. He's like, "How much money do you have?" And I was like, "I got $700." He's like, "You think you're going to get across the country with $700?" I was like, "Yeah, it should be fine." He just slid some money across the table. He's like, "You're going to need this." So,
nice. He knew. He knew.
yeah. I got Once I ran out of money, I texted him or called and was like, "Yeah, you were right. Definitely needed a little more than I thought I did." But he was so used to me just doing things on a whim, so
No,
he
okay.
was he was prepared and helped. And then I came out here. That would have been the end of 2011, and I it was when you could go around the industrial park in Nisku and there'd just be signs saying hiring or not, and you just walk into places. And I went into a bunch of places, and by the third day, I had a job. I went in the wrong door, and I was like, "You guys hiring millwrights?" And they're like, "Oh, you got to go talk to this guy up front." I was like, "Okay." So I talked to him, and it just kind of turned into an interview, and got the job there. So I started building rigs and doing hydraulics on rigs was my first job out here. So that was pretty cool.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
When we back up a little bit, when you were doing work at the nuclear place, did you have to wear a radiation monitor and everything like that on your coveralls?
Yeah, so you have a DISN badge and it records your dose. And then there's green men that work all over the plant and they work with you when you go in the reactor and they're always monitoring how much dose you get and decide how long you can be in there, what areas you can go into and what radiation you're going to be exposed to. So they're fully trained in that. You get trained as well, but they just know so much more. And you always
Wow.
scan in and out of each area you go into. So if you're trying to leave at the end of the day and enough rain gets on you, it'll say you have too high of a dose and you can't leave. So
Oh,
yeah, everyone
wow.
will just run in the rain so they don't get covered. But yeah, it's crazy. It's you don't actually get a lot of dose working there. I think pilots get more radiation in a year than you do working at a nuclear plant. But it was quite interesting and all the different layers you'd have to wear. It's the Homer Simpson suit, and you've got 3 pairs of gloves on, and you're trying to drill and tap holes while you cannot let a single piece of metal fall anywhere because it'll eventually vibrate through something. And yeah, so it was very very clean, very a lot of steps to do anything, and very safe, which is also nice. So
Oh, I bet. And I'd just like to say hello to Godzillionaire. Welcome. And yes, someone did say nuclear. Is it pronounced nuclear? Hmm? So when that occurred, you guys, would you have to what would they do? Decontaminate? Would they like hose you down and stuff like that out of your suits?
So you
Like
wouldn't
how
get
did that
hosed
work?
down. It depends which section you went to, but there'd be different stages of you leaving the reactor. So at the first stage, you'd get rid of your first pair of gloves and your outer layer suit, and then you'd move farther and remove more, and then you'd get scanned by your green guy or gal,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
eventually you'd get completely out of your gear, put it all in the right bins, and then the big machine that you scan in and out of the building for is a similar thing you do there, just to check again to make sure there's nothing on you before you go out. And you always have different coveralls for when you're in going in the reactor versus day to day work. So you'd
Wow.
get rid of those
That
and go
is
change. So yeah,
that is stringent, all right.
oh yeah.
Well, I've never been in a nuclear reactor or know what it's like, so hearing your story, that's pretty awesome.
It's pretty cool. It's got quite a few different levels, and some of it just looks the one part just looks like a game of Battleship, all the tubes, which is pretty cool. But everything's just massive, and then there's pools and everything, and yeah, it's pretty wild. But it was very cool working there. I was more on the HVAC crew the one time, and then switched to another crew, got to do some machining and stuff as well, and then yeah, and then working in there doing little upgrades and changes and stuff. So it was pretty
Nice.
cool. Yeah.
Right on. So yes, so you've traveled across Canada. You made it to the province of Alberta. You've got in there and you got this job. And what was the first job? Was working with the building rigs.
Yeah, building rigs, doing hydraulics, doing all the piping, and doing rig up, and then they'd get sent out and into the field, and that's kind of where I ended with that, just in the building and testing phases. So it was pretty fun
So
doing
what
that.
would they have called that like a mod yard where you're building the stuff for the oil field?
Yeah, some of them we'd build in Nisku, some built in Calgary, and then they'd end up in another town where we'd do rig up. So
Okay, but you
yeah,
wouldn't
and just
go out
add
when
all.
they would put when they were assembling it or putting it up on site. You wouldn't go out there with them, or would you?
No, I wasn't there long enough to go out with them there, but that's other people would too, and then we'd send people for troubleshooting as well. So
Okay.
yeah.
So obviously you didn't stick at that one at that job. What came after that?
After that, I ended up at another rig shop, but we were retrofitting older rigs to make them more automated. So it was going through all the old hydraulic lines and taking those off and putting new stuff in and building the slides. Kind of got rid of the derrickman is what they were doing to make it so they could pull
Okay.
all the rods up. So was kind of cool doing that. Kind of some crazy things happened at that place. We got one rig from California, and with the temperature changes, we went to take off a flange, and there's a puck on it that was just blinding off the line. And I was walking away probably 100 feet away from the rig. And luckily, the guy was standing to the side, but he pulled the last bolt off, and that puck shot out, and I got doused in hydraulic oil, and so did the truck. And we were literally like 100 feet away.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was wild. So from then on, we had to make sure we knew what hydraulic oil they were using if we got anything from California, and then when they brought it up to Canada and the temperature changes and stuff. So it was a pretty freaky moment because I was like, why am I getting covered in hydraulic oil? And I looked back at my partner and I was like, what just happened?
Oh,
So it was pretty
that's crazy.
pretty
So
crazy.
when
Yeah.
they pulled the flange off, then there was something inside, like there was still hydraulic oil, but it was just the pressure change from the going from the
Yeah.
hot to the cold, or was it cold out when you guys were doing this?
It was a little bit cold. It could have been sitting for a while, but yeah, it was the pressure buildup and the type of hydraulic oil that they were using down there wasn't good for us up here. So it just built up a ton of pressure.
Dillionaire says it was
Probably.
probably vegan hydraulic oil from California.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
You know how those
funny.
Californians are.
Yeah,
That sucks. And
totally.
you've probably seen some pretty crazy things, but we won't get into like the more modern ones yet. We'll still be back in the past there at that rig shop. Anything else you could share with us about some of the crazy things that you may have seen, maybe not so OSHA compliant or OH&S compliant?
Well, probably the scariest one, which was 2 weeks before I had started at the first place, someone set up the counterbalance valves the wrong way, and they actually dropped the entire mast, and it was a Kelly double, so that was a huge mast to drop. So,
Oh,
yeah, no one got hurt, but they got very lucky, and then the steps changed that someone had to verify that was put in correctly, which kind of should have been done in the first
yeah.
place. But again, this is how we learn. Unfortunately, mistakes have to happen to get
So
safety
just to
better.
explain
Yeah.
what that was, is when they raise the rig up, the counterbalance valves keep it from falling back down again, or do
Yeah,
you want to explain
exactly.
what is
Yep.
that what it is?
Yep. So the rams are lifting up the mast, and then the counterbalance valves hold it there and keep it in place. And then if it's backwards, it's doing the exact opposite of what it needs to. And it just came down and kept smashing the ground until it leveled out. So
Oh,
pretty wild.
that is bad.
Yeah.
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 Okay. After that, after getting doused with the hydraulic oil,
Yeah.
uh, anything else at that particular job, or did you soon after leave and head to somewhere else?
Yeah. What did I do after that? Actually, you know what? After that one was when I went into trucking because all of my schooling was supposed to transfer over and all my experience from Ontario. So I would have been a third year. And then when I finally got signed up, because the first company wouldn't indenture me, uh, which I still don't know why companies do that. But, anyways, the next one did. And then they didn't accept anything from Ontario. So I went from
Oh,
should have been a third back to first year. And then they're like, hey, we're going to have to cut your wages back and everything. And then I was like, oh, no. So I got my class one. I had a short job at another company in between where they were training me for my class one anyway. So then I went and did a few hours with a great company in Edmonton. I think they were called Cameron Driver, and did my test through
okay.
them. And then I went trucking for 4 years.
Okay, yeah, and for our American friends, class one is like a CDL, commercial driver's license. So she drove like big rigs,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Did you ever get into the B trains or Super B or anything like that?
Yeah, I mostly hauled Super Bs of fuel. That was the majority of my career. I hauled fuel pretty much the entire time. In the beginning, it was truck and a pup, and then got into
Yeah,
Super Bs right after that. So
that is quite the hauling experience. You're doing two. What are they? 53 feet long each one.
I don't remember the length. I know it was 125,000 pounds of fuel. That was my
Whew.
gross weight. So it was quite a bit. But yeah, you're pretty long, but the Super Bees turn a little tighter, which is nice. They're harder to learn how to back up, but once you can back them up, then I could no longer back up one trailer. Like,
Ah,
so my boss was making fun of me the one
that's
day. He's like, "Why can you not back up the trailer?" And I was like, "Because there's not two of them." I was like, "I'm looking at the wrong spots now."
that's pretty funny. And yeah, usually it's super difficult to never mind backing up one trailer, but now you got two to back up. I
Yeah.
mean, yikes.
Yeah, and you get into some tricky spots, and I was going to this one site constantly to deliver fuel, and the best part about fuel is you can deliver when you want and load when you want. There's no times, no one has to be there. You load up here in Edmonton and go wherever you need to and dip the tank, and if there's room, you put her
Oh,
in.
good.
So that's really nice until you get in the habit of going to the same place, and I made a turn to go down the one road and they took the bridge out. Uh,
Oh no.
and I went, cool, this is great. And it was actually in the middle of the day this time, so there's tons of people around. And then someone saw me and they're like, "You didn't notice the bridge was out, did you?" And I was like, "Nope, sure didn't." And we tried backing straight up, like the guy was guiding me. And so I could turn left and go back out to the road. And it wasn't happening. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to blindside back 90 degrees into this corner, and there's probably like 100 people watching me, and I was like, I have to do this. So I just took my time and did it, and it ended up being perfect all the way back. And I drove away and just like threw my hands up in the air and out the window, and I was like, I'll never be able to do this again, but I'm so pumped that all these people watched
Nice.
because that was incredible. So
Well
yeah,
done.
yeah, there's so many weird situations you get into where you're so close, and then you get out and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know what I would have done if I didn't get out
Yeah.
of there, right? So trucking
So
was,
that
yeah.
trucking of fuel,
Yeah.
yeah. No, sorry, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off there.
Oh, no worries. Yeah,
But
it was fun.
it was fun, yeah. And but you didn't keep doing that.
No,
Um,
then after that I finally got back into the trades, and actually the company I originally worked for when I first moved out here, I reached out to them and was like, "Can you guys hook me up and just sign me up so I can get to trade school?" I was like, it's going to be easier for me to get a job this way, and they're like, "Yep, no problem." And I found a great person that works at the apprenticeship board to help with it, and I got signed up by them and then released and was able to go to trade school. So I did first year back to back with second, and then went to work. And yeah, I was very fortunate to have them sign me up because it just makes it so much easier.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I understand what it's like to be unindentured and looking around to try to find a company that's going to indenture you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was good. And then where did I end up after that? Yeah, I was working. What were we doing? We were working at a sweet gas plant, doing some commissioning, some upgrades for a while, working out of town, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, living in camp. That started my camp career, which lasted a while, and then went to
Oh yeah.
some more sites up around Fort McMurray. Spent some time up there and ore prep right in the oil field, and it's crazy how big everything is there between the conveyors and the trucks and everything you're working on, the pumps, and just wild up there. But
For those of you that don't know, like being up in Fort McMurray, the oil patch, everything is huge because the oil companies are rich and time is money and they need to move a lot fast. So they have the biggest earth movers, they have the biggest trucks, everything to move all that bitumen, which is the what they refer to as oil sand. So they move that to their processing where they extract the oil and get rid of the sand that it's mixed with. So everything is huge up there, and Cece would know because she was up there.
yeah, yeah, it was crazy. You could walk right up to where the trucks would dump, and it was almost frightening because you're just seeing this huge
Wow.
truck dump right in front of you. Like you weren't to go up there all the time, but it was when I first got there, they took me up and I was like, holy smokes. But yeah, exactly. Time is money up there. So they have two trains for everything. So I was 1 week on, 1 week off at this place, and So the week we were on, we were fixing everything on our train while the other week's train was running, and then the week we're gone, they switch to theirs, and each week is in charge of their own, and you just got to keep things running.
That makes sense, though. I mean, that's a good way to do it. Have two trains, and then have one running while the other one's getting repaired if it needs it, and then the other one, same thing. Like,
Yep.
and I also saw a show where they go by hours.
Yep.
So they're big. They had a big excavator there, and they're like, okay, we replace these hydraulic pistons every 20,000 hours, no matter what, even if they're good or not. They come out, we throw new ones in. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do on a week off in Fort McMurray?
Yeah.
Leave? Yeah, well,
100% leave.
I don't know what.
Yeah, the plane takes you home. So I flew every single Thursday. I was either flying back to Edmonton or flying to Fort McMurray. So you get to fly home for your week off, which is pretty sweet.
The thing is, though, that it's the week there, and that's a week of 12-hour shifts, isn't it?
Yep, 12's there. So my schedule was get up, eat breakfast, go to work, come back, pack my lunch for the next day, work out, eat, go to sleep. Every
Wow.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not much left to do.
No, but it was
Okay.
nice having all the food there and packing your lunch the night before too. So it made it easier. And then you ride a bus to and from camp to wherever you're working.
So you hardly have any expenditures then.
No, yeah, you don't need to spend money at all while you're there, which is really nice. And most camps are decent. Some aren't great. Some have better food. Some have better accommodations. And you just
Oh
gotta
yeah.
try to enjoy it. Although it feels like you're in prison because there's always gates everywhere and you can't leave.
Wow, that's one way to put it, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
never did any stints up in Fort McMurray, so I don't know. I don't know what it was like.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an experience for sure. I did some shutdowns up there as well with other companies, and those are always interesting. Working 6 and 1 on nights, and it was, yeah, a lot. But again, the camps,
6 and 1.
yeah. So you work 6 days and have one day off in camp.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's terrible.
Yeah. I did that for 5 weeks and then took that. Oh, I guess I would have done that right before I went to that other job. And they were still going. Like they could have been there 3 months. It just depends how long the shutdown is and what work they're doing. So a lot of those guys fly from Newfoundland out and spend as many months as they can working and living in camp, and then they go home.
Oh, okay.
I don't miss
And
12s,
angry.
6 and 1s. Yeah.
Yeah, that's angry Canadian. Welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah. Those
Yeah,
are
we're talking
long.
about shifts.
Yeah.
Ugh. Um, okay, after your stint up in Fort McMurray, what else did you get up to?
I took kind of whatever job I could get to get out of being in camp because at that point I was just tired of it. It was a few years of being gone all the time, and I had just spent 4 years trucking and being gone all the time. So I took a job in a shop that just built pipes basically for the oil field, surprisingly. And I was there for a few months. And then right after that is when you and I started working together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, full disclosure, everyone. Cece and I have worked together before.
Yeah.
Yes. What did Godzilla have to say? Sounds like the Canadian equivalent of offshore work in the Gulf. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like that.
Yeah, totally.
Sequestered from everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, so working at the composting facility. I have discussed this on the stream before with people
Nice.
about what it was like there. It's pretty much where all of the garbage came and was sorted out, and the non compostable stuff was separated from the compostable stuff. And yeah, speaking of which, I think I have a short video you sent me of
Are we going by what I
being
call
on the
it?
lake,
The poop pond?
going well, the poop pond. We'll see what everybody think. We'll see what everybody thinks of this.
Yeah.
So there we go, and we'll just start the video here. And this is in wintertime, and somebody out there, and I believe that is me
I'm pretty sure
out
that's
there,
you.
if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. But we have to knock the ice off of these lines, otherwise these aerators that keep the pond from freezing over, they'll flip over and then they'll be useless. And it'll be cost a big an expense to get it all rebuilt and fixed up. But yeah, so I believe you were on the dock.
Yeah. I got to be at
And
rescue
there's
this
the
time.
barge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were on rescue. There's one of the aerators going.
One of the last ones that were.
One of the last ones, yeah. And so yeah, it was just a short little one, but it shows you that of all the there's ice, all the ice on there. And like I say, they always wanted to dredge. So that thing out there is a dredge, and it pretty much sucks up the material and sends it for processing. But they wanted to go all year round. A lot of other places would shut down in the wintertime, but we would keep running.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is what you have to do to keep it running in wintertime.
That's a big
Knock ice
poopsicle.
off of. Yeah, it is. It's all frozen ice on
yeah.
a rope. And yeah, you could see it's tilting it quite a bit. And yeah, I'm call me crazy, but I guess I would step out there and hit it with a hammer to get it to fall off into the water, because we didn't want them flipping over. So
Yeah.
that's what would happen.
Too funny.
That's I know that's crazy me though.
Yeah.
Get the job done.
Right? Always our
Yeah.
crew got all the, I guess, the worst jobs,
Oh
but
yeah.
also the jobs that make you better. So that's fine.
I think so too. It's the harder the task, the harder you try, I guess. That's what it came down,
Exactly.
at least on my crew.
Yeah. Yeah, our
So
crew was pretty awesome. I think our 6 hours and -30 trying to get that rope out of the pump on the dredge was one of our worst jobs, but also
yeah.
best.
Well, yeah, I got to say you're a real trooper for that one, because having to pull the pump up, and you get right in there, and well, there's no two ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're sticking your hand into poop water and
Yeah.
trying to get that rope out of the impeller. So
Yeah.
that was oh
That was wild. And then when it finally came loose, I didn't even believe it. You're like, it's out. I'm like, are you sure it's out? Are you sure? Are we done?
Are you sure? Yeah, are we done? Can we get back in the boat and go back?
Right?
So yeah, that's exactly. That was yeah. I'm glad those days are over. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And it's always great to reference back to that, because someone would be like, oh, this is a really bad job. Are you sure you're okay to do it? And I was like, do you know what it's like being in -30 pulling rope out of a pump in a poop pond? This is easy.
This is nothing.
Yeah. Nothing compares to being in human waste way too often.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, we made it up to the point where you and I met, and you weren't a journeyman yet.
No, you were my journeyman.
Fourth.
Yeah.
I was, yes.
Yeah.
I was a very proud journeyman when you finally made it.
Yeah. I was pretty pumped.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope that hope you learned. Hope I was able to teach you, lots of stuff
Absolutely.
in order to help you out.
Definitely. I would recommend you to anyone, even a journeyman. Anyone could learn so much from you. And I think your patience and your ability to let me figure things out on my own, especially being able to ask the questions like, why don't we do it this way or this way? And you'll be like, well, why do you think we don't do it that way? And we just roll through the scenario, and then it's like, okay, that makes sense. Or you let me do the things like me wanting to play music on the truck while we were all there so we could listen to it while the truck was off. And you're like, you don't think the battery's going to die? I was like, oh, it should be fine. And then the battery died. And you didn't sell me out. You just called ops and said, oh, the truck battery died. Can someone come out here and give us a boost? And I was waiting for you to say someone over here wanted to listen to music. And you didn't say a word. So
Oh, there's discretion, and
yeah,
if you as long as you've learned, that's the important thing, I think, is
absolutely.
when it comes down to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Let's have a look at some of these other photos.
definitely.
Um, and I know there are after you and I parted ways at the composter, you went to your place, and
Mhm.
I kept on.
Yep.
Um, but it was a place that made chemicals for water, I believe.
Yes, water chemical plant with
Water
reactors.
chemical plant.
Yeah,
Okay.
lots of pumps and boilers. It's a pretty cool
Okay.
place.
Well, then here, what is this? What are you pointing to?
So this is in a glass
Let's
line
zoom in on.
reactor, and that's a patch that was done. And there's a strainer basket outside on the discharge of the reactors. And as soon as you find bits of glass in there, you know you need to go in and find where the glass is coming from. Or because if you leave it, the chemicals will start to eat through the glass further and then it'll shoot out the side of the reactor, which isn't good. So you have to put these patches on. So we thought maybe the patch failed because it's quite a bit of work to get those on there. And I spent hours in there, can't find it. I'm searching high and low under everything I can. And then my coworker comes in with me and she looks everywhere, very detailed and everything too. And we're like, where did this glass come from? And so I text one of the guys that used to work there and do that same job. And he said, send me a picture of the patch. So we thought we'd be hilarious after being in there for 4 hours. And we're like, here it is. Here's the patch, just to be funny. But there was nothing. And he ended up coming in the next day and he searched for about 2.5 hours. And all three of us that were there were very determined to find this. It would have been like you, like, I'm not stopping until I figure out what this is. And the conclusion
Yeah.
we came to was nobody washed the strainer basket out after we did the repairs and it was old glass.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, there wasn't anything else broken, but that was a patch we had done recently. So those patches can go up and then the reactor can keep going and hope it holds as long as it can. And then if not, you do a bigger patch and a bigger patch and a bigger patch, and it's tantalum and some
Okay.
Teflon and some goo under there. So
Um. Okay. Well, might as well just go through these then and see the.
lots of different
this
ones,
one, this one kills me here. This one. So is this in
right?
the lunchroom? Is this in the lunchroom for you guys?
Thankfully, no, that was in the lab, which isn't really any
Oh, okay.
better because the lunchroom was on the other side. But at this job, I was every single trade: instrumentation, welding, millwright, whatever you could come up with, pipe fitter, and apparently Renos. So this was the counter and sink I replaced. Finally, they let me do it because I don't know. I guess no one thought the mold was bad enough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that's green growing mold there. Like
Yeah.
that's not good for your health. They decided to
No.
keep it there.
And they needed that
Oh,
sink because there was a cooling coil that would get attached to it, which I had to make another one of as well, a small one that goes in a bottle to cool off the product so they can do all their testing and stuff. So they needed
you
that
finally had
sink.
an, you finally had enough and took a hammer to the thing?
Oh, yeah. I used everything to cut that. It was
Oh man.
crazy. Yeah.
That's the new one
But
though, eh?
yeah, it looks a little bit better.
With backsplash and everything. Look at that. What an
Yeah.
improvement.
Right. I wanted to do more, but that's all they'd let me do.
You run out of money probably in the budget.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's that one.
I should have sent you the picture of that in the back of my car because I went and picked it up from Home Depot myself. And for everyone on there that
Oh,
doesn't know, I drive a Nissan Versa Note, a hatchback, and that whole cabinet I shoved in the back and ratchet strapped my fifth door down. So it fit.
nice.
Yeah.
You got it. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is what was behind there after you took that all out. It was just got into the insulation and everything.
Oh, yeah. I had to vacuum in between out and everything. It was bad. No surprise we had
Okay.
mice problems. That's my first time
Yeah.
I did drywall too, so
See
not too
that,
bad.
everybody? That there's you do maintenance stuff, you do just about everything.
Yeah. And if you don't know how to do it, you're going to learn how to do it. You'll figure it out.
That's right. That looks
Yeah.
really nice. I like that. That's sharp there. Much better. What an improvement.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. We won't get to those yet.
Yeah.
Um uh, okay. What's this all about?
Putting some heat trace on a shack outside with just more of the random spots that I had to fit the genie lift in. Always end up in the most tight random spots. That one wasn't too bad, but I had to climb up by the rail and come across and get up there.
Oh, oh yeah.
So, yeah.
And I see, yeah, you're right by the train tracks too.
Yeah.
Oh. Um and then this one.
Yeah, that one was inside, so you can see that big beam. So I had to come up to the beam, go around the beam, and then basically Austin powers myself over to this tank to blind off a flange. But I was like, yes, this is wicked. And then it was fun trying to get out of there again afterwards. I like running equipment,
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, maneuvering, that's a big part of it. Without maneuvering without destroying anything. That is
Yeah.
the biggest kind of like this one.
Yeah, exactly. Again, this was changing light bulbs, but still had to get as close as I could, watch out for all the electrical and over top of PLCs and everything, and
Oh yeah, I see.
literally like an
You're
inch
just
away.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
Yeah. Even to get into there, I had to go down that ramp and I had to go in the middle of each tire down the ramp and make sure we didn't tip or
Wow.
anything. So it was fun.
Oh, you had somebody in there with you, the electrician, I no doubt.
Yep, because apparently we weren't allowed to change light bulbs, so it could make me do everything else, but light bulbs were a no-no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, that and that and this.
Trade school, 4th year engines. One of the smaller ones, but fun going through those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made you pull them apart and put them back together. Do all the measurements. Did they make you
Yeah, you bet.
uh, use like micrometers and such to and depth gauges?
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
nice. What else? Oh, this is
The boiler.
well, we'll do it like this.
Perfect. Yeah, it's the
So what
boiler.
are we looking at here?
It's one of our boilers firing up when they were training me
Okay,
on that. I was getting my 4th class at the time, so I was learning about them and what to look for in the flame. And yeah, it ends up being quite blue, but that's during the startup process, so it was pretty cool to
okay,
see that. Yeah.
yeah, that is neat. Looking in there and seeing what goes on.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here? Oh,
Yes.
what are you tightening up there? Tightening up some with a wrench,
Yeah.
ratchet.
So that's a Voith coupling and it has a fusible plug on it. So if it gets to a certain temperature, it'll melt and then all of the oil will come out and then you know that it's failed. So it's kind of a fail safe to not destroy the equipment. So we just needed to replace that, but it was pretty cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know they had fusible plugs.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Huh. Okay. Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah. That's the conveyor, maybe halfway up. There's diagonal plows and V plows that ride on the underside there to clean them off. So when they go through, they're not such a mess. And we had to replace one of them. So I made someone take a picture of me.
So, and then just so everyone understands, you're standing in between a single, like this is a single conveyor. The top one you're touching with your hands, that's what the load rides on,
Yep,
and the bottom is the return of that same conveyor.
exactly.
So that is how big it is. And look how wide that's what is that, a 6 foot wide?
Probably
7?
looks taller than me. So
Yeah. And the ones we dealt with at the composter were you could maybe stick your arm in between the top and the bottom. But is this one you stand in the middle of it?
Yeah.
That's just unbelievable how huge that is.
Right.
And you're saying it's up in the air?
Yeah,
Looks like it,
so
from what I
yeah,
can
that's
see.
that's about midway right there. And then at the very top is about 160 feet up in the air.
Whew.
But you walk up the sides all the way to the top as well, so it's quite the hike to go up and
Okay.
down. Yeah,
Oh, oh, should we get into this one?
we can.
Yeah, okay, so we'll go from here.
Yeah. They pushed.
So what are we looking at here?
So we would take apart these pumps every shift. There'd be a different one that would be getting taken apart and inspected and all the parts looked at, and they pushed this one a week and it blew a hole in the side. And so all the products shooting out, the rocks, everything, because this is ore prep, so it goes further down the line afterwards, but it is just flying out of there. The first video,
I
it's
see that.
spraying an electrical box, so took them a bit to shut
They
it
finally
down.
shut it.
Yeah.
It looks like they finally shut it down there.
Yeah.
But the damage is done.
Yeah. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
That's the one. Yeah. Just insane.
And that's just water, eh? It's not acid or anything?
No, just water and bitumen and everything. That's why all the
Okay.
sand is there too. So going through the process of separating it. But
Okay, so sand is in it too. Yeah, that'd be very
yeah,
abrasive. That would wear out the sides of the casing like in no time.
yeah, exactly. It was wild. I think the
And they put it off
laborers a week. Yeah.
by a week, and
Yeah.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
So that's a lesson, folks. Don't put stuff off,
Right.
especially in maintenance.
Yeah.
I think we've got some. There you go.
There's the hole.
There, that's the inside of the casing,
Yeah.
and
And I
there's
can
the hole that
stand in
got
there.
worn in it.
Yeah.
You can stand in that casing.
Yeah. Those pumps are
That's how big
huge.
it is.
They're cool.
Yeah, it's hard to see, hard to tell scale by this picture, but
Yeah.
that is pretty bad to wear a hole in it like that. There you go. There's a better picture of
Yeah.
the inside casing. But look at that there.
Yeah. It's bad.
It's crazy. That hole would probably be what, the size of your fist?
I would think so. Yeah. That happened, I think, a week or two after I left that site.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. There's another picture there.
Yeah.
Amazing that how much abrasion that goes through the pumps there, and you can see the waves in the casing too from
Yeah.
all being worn away.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh, from
no?
the
Is
outside?
this
That might
is
be.
that from the outside?
I think so. Yeah, just showing the
Hard
same
for me
kind
to
of
tell
hole.
where the okay.
I think.
Yeah, it's hard for me to tell where
Yeah.
it's all wet anyway, so you know that
Yeah.
something's leaked out of there.
That's all the
And what's
rocks.
this all about?
That's all the rocks that
All
shot
the
out.
rocks that were in there?
Yeah, they shot out.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Just crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, like look at that. What do we got here?
That was back at the sweet gas plant, doing coupling alignments with the laser, getting all my check
Oh,
marks
laser alignment.
and smiley faces on there.
Nice.
Yeah. I really enjoy doing alignments. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah, especially when you got a machine like this, like setting up the lasers to look at each other and everything like that, and doing your rotating around with the shaft and the pump or
Yeah.
the pump and the motor or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
yeah, and having it all set up nice where it's like, yep, you're good.
Right? It's pretty cool.
Godzilla says he's lazy. He prefers C-face motors.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, we can't all have that, Godzillionaire.
No.
Oh yes. Did you want to the one where this is where you're pulling something, isn't it?
Yeah, pulling out the
This one
winch
here?
cable. This is how we had to do it. We had to strap it to ourselves and drag it. because then we'd move that.
How heavy?
I mean, it was hard enough to pull. You can see I'm struggling, and I was working out a lot at that time. So, and my partner's just yelling at me, he's like, "Come on, come on!" I'm like, "Shut up!"
Maybe get over there and help you.
Right? I was just dying, but I got it pulled all the
That's
way.
crazy.
Yeah, weird little things like that
What
that
was
you wouldn't think you need to do.
Yeah, like winch cable. But
Yeah.
what was the winch for? Like, what was it gonna pull?
So the green thing's like a big crusher and it has all the teeth on it. So it gets pulled over and then our welders can go into it so that no trucks can dump while they're working on it. And they go and weld all the teeth back up. They'll spend the whole week doing that sometimes. It's awful, but they were troopers and did it. So we'd have to drag that piece over, get it out of the way for them to do that. And then it would get dragged back over into place.
Okay, I see.
Yeah,
Nice. That's a lot of physical labor going on.
definitely.
Um, there's this one.
Yeah. Boomerang, but that's at the very top where it's all dumping
Yeah,
into a
I got a
huge
video of that.
hopper. Yeah.
Got a video of that.
So yeah, the trucks will dump, goes through the crusher, and then goes through the conveyors, and then dumps into a huge hopper, goes through some more, and then there's 3 smaller conveyors that go up to where those pumps are that the rocks were shooting out of.
Huh.
So it's all prepping the ore to go to the next stage and goes
Yeah,
from
because
there.
that's huge.
Yeah, I can't actually touch it. It looks like I am, but I'm quite far away because that's the other train on the other side, and then I'm on our train.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's more. There's more
Oh,
of
more
that
of the sink.
filthy lab sink.
I didn't even have to disconnect that. I just pulled it right out. It's bad.
Oh,
Yeah.
just rotted.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you got rid of that because
Yeah. I think everyone
that's a
was
freaking
happy.
health hazard.
Yeah.
Now, these things here, they're interesting, aren't they?
Yes. That was my final band aid fix of this leak on this tank. I think you have the other photo where I patched the first hole and it was
Yeah,
leaking and
I'll show that.
I didn't want to fix it because I knew they were just gonna leave it if I fixed it the way they wanted me to, which is just
Yes.
anyway. Basically, well, first they asked me if I could use that stuff from the infomercial, that slap-on tape. And I was like, "Are you going to empty the tank? Will you empty the tank at least so there's not hydrostatic pressure on this?" And they were like, "No, we can't shut down." And I was like, "Cool." So I hammered in a punch and put putty around it, and that lasted a few months. But this is the
What
ghetto.
kind of putty was that? What kind of putty was that?
Crap, what is it called? Steel stick.
Was it steel stick?
Steel
Okay.
stick, yeah. Yeah.
So you jabbed
A punch.
punch in there and then put putty around it, and they were okay with that.
Yep. Because it stopped leaking.
Oh,
Yeah. Until it leaked
I'm
again.
just
And then another hole started leaking. So I had them come in and do a thickness test because I wanted to get it welded and repaired. And it was too thin. No welder was willing to weld on it. And you would need to cut out all 4 connections and put new ones in. And that was
yeah.
obviously out of the budget. So this was fix number 1. And then if we go to the other photo, that's fix number 2. And I can assume that it's still holding. So I ended up drilling and tapping 2 holes, putting bolts in, and then putting steel stick over the bolts. But this time they actually drained the tank for me. So that was helpful. But
Oy, just shake my head like when companies decide to cut corners like that. It's just like, what's the matter with you?
yeah, I send that to my
You know?
friends at the nuclear plant that still work there. And they're like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, you don't patch holes with punches and putty at your site? This isn't normal?" Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm sure those are still holding. So that'll never get fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's whoever's problem now, eh?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, what's this guy about here?
That's actually my brother's. He, for chopping trees and everything, he couldn't get it aligned, and I spent forever trying to get it aligned, and it would not cooperate. And he put the whole thing together. He's kind of a backyard mechanic, and kind of
Yep.
doubts himself a little bit, but he's actually quite smart and figures a lot of things out. And he spent a ton of time on it and got frustrated. And I was like, hey, I'll figure this out. And then I ran out of time. It was one of those, it was the last day I was home. I was only home for like 2 or 3 days and didn't quite get it finished. So that's his mill that he has, but can't use. I don't know if he finally got it or not, but I hope he did. It was
Yeah,
painful,
that's a mean looking blade on there.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. I like it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Um, oh,
Yes.
here's one that's every uh, millwright's nightmare
Yeah.
when you're trying to remove a screw or a bolt.
Yeah. Not only did I break two bolts off, but then I broke the extractor off in the bolt I was trying to remove. And this was on
Oh,
is it on a PRV or a PSV? Either way, on our steam line. And without it, we can't use the steam line. So I had to fix it. And I spent all day trying to get those out. And I pulled a miracle at the end of the day. And I said, screw it. I'm going to drill these bolts out and hopefully not wreck the threads. And I drilled them out just by feel and ran a tap down and out and then blew the shavings out with some air and then ran new bolts in and they went in perfectly. And I think I ran out of the shop with my hands up in the air because someone was there and I was like, you don't know what I just did, but I fixed this.
well, well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. One of those crazy days that you just can't give up.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
What are we looking at here?
That was a spool piece that was leaking that I had to replace and build the CPVC there and fab that up. So that's the old one that was in place. And then I needed to get a new one in there
Okay.
because it was just leaking all the time. So that's the pre, not the post. Unfortunately, you don't get to see my beautiful
Oh,
work, but
oh well.
lots of problems with that pump though and it melting. So that was never fun.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Melting pump.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this next one is got some video here, and want to explain what's going on here?
Yeah, so this is on a boiler, and this is where the operators will take their water sample every day because they need to ensure the pH on the boiler is at the correct spot so that they don't wreck any of the tubes and everything. And this is how they were taking samples and basically burning themselves every day. So this was, I
I mean,
think,
first time, yeah, but
sorry.
no, I was saying like maybe the first time you burn yourself, but like don't keep burning yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. So I fabricated this cooling coil out of some copper tubing and wanted to see if this would work. So this is my process. Little ghetto, but
Yeah.
empty paint can and some copper tubing. And then there's a little
Okay.
bit of like, the bird's nest wire is basically what I used. And then a little bit you can see it's holding the initial piece of the copper tubing back down there as well. I made a little hook for it. So it would hold it in the middle of the
Yeah.
can and not touch the sides.
And then would you put cold water in there
You betcha.
or just
Yeah.
lukewarm water?
Whatever
Just
they
cold?
had. They had some water nearby and they
Okay.
just fill it up. As long as it had
Okay.
water and the 6 coils seemed to be the right amount. It didn't make much of a difference if you did more, but 6 seemed to be the perfect amount of coils. And then this is
Okay.
how they got to take samples afterwards. Eventually see
Seems a little better.
once he's out of the way. So
Doesn't look as
yeah.
doesn't look as ripping hot steam as the other one.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. They were pretty pumped about that. And then I extended it to make it so it wasn't hanging anymore.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, you got a nice looking downspout. That's a nice piece of pipe there.
Yeah.
Going down, and you necked it down with a reducer
Yeah.
down to the tubing size. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, they couldn't ask for much more than that, really. What you did for them, making it so they don't burn themselves anymore.
Yeah, it was pretty
They should have
cool.
been taking you out for freaking beers after that.
Right? Yeah.
And then
Just more live
just a
photos
quick
of
one,
it.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
That was pretty
that
cool.
looks good.
Yeah. Oh, another
Oh,
steam line broken connection. I think that was a 90 into a nipple, might have been like a 2-inch nipple, and
Yeah.
it that had to be replaced. And then I got the 90 off. I took the coupling off further down, unscrewed the pipe from the 90, and then the 90 was starting to come off, and then broke the nipple off in the main line. And this was after I got it out, which I couldn't believe that it came out. So I was lucky I was going into probably a 3 or a 4-inch line. So the extractor could go further down because I didn't have the perfect
Ah,
size
yeah.
neither. So I got lucky that way too. But I hammered it in and then put a wrench on it and just kept tapping it and turning it, and it pulled out. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this never happens. But I
Nice.
got it out nice and easy. So
Oh, here we go. This will be all right.
yes. So this is a control valve with sulfuric acid, 93% sulfuric acid. So very, very bad. Burns the skin pretty quickly. Add water makes it worse. And this was a valve that was a few feet overhead, but was leaking, which is not good. So it was dripping down, which could have easily dripped on somebody or got to the point where it sprayed on somebody. So this is kind of part of the internals. I was to change the packing and in the gland follower. I didn't even realize how bad it was till I saw the new one, but you'll see how much it was eaten away on everything. This is where it was coming out.
Oh man. Okay, yeah.
It just keeps getting worse. Oh, and then
I
again,
think this is a little
this is
video here.
a little choppy as well, but again, couldn't get the gland follower nut out because the acid ate away everywhere you'd put a wrench. So I got to use a chisel and a hammer this time to get it out. So I had already got it a bit loose with it, but
Yeah.
I just kept
There you go.
tapping around till it came out.
Yeah, that's the way.
And I'm in my full chemical suit with my chemical gloves on as well. Just it's been cleaned and flushed, but
Okay.
just in case. So eventually get that out. I don't know how long this video is.
No, it's nice when it comes like that.
Yeah. I
When you're
didn't
able to
know.
move something with a hammer.
Yeah. Sometimes you just get lucky. It's awesome.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Whew.
And then all the
Even
packing's under
I'm
there.
relieved.
Right? You just see it and you're like,
Yeah.
oh goodness.
Oh man.
There
Yeah.
wasn't much to grab onto.
Okay, there you go. That's that one. And we'll move along to the is this what was in there?
Yeah, some of the washers and packing and spacer. And there'll be
Okay.
more. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
there
the
you are.
packing there, the stack of packing. And then that's the rod
That's
getting eaten
yeah.
away. Just everything. Not much left to it.
That is very like look at that. That used to be all threaded. This part here should be as big as this. It looks like to me anyway.
Yep. Yeah, there'll be a
Like that's
side by side coming up of what it should have looked like.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, and this is
Oh, now it's
the rig I built because you need air to actuate it to take the control valve apart to do the packing. So I rigged this up and kept it with me to use because as soon as you take it out of the field, then you don't have air and you can't work on it in the field with air because it obviously has to be locked out so no one can actuate it and no sulfuric acid can come to you. So that
yep.
little jig has
Yep.
been saved to use.
Oh, Godzillionaire wants to know what metallurgy was that valve? Like what was it? Was it a stainless valve?
It's got to
Was
be.
it just carbon steel or
I'm trying to think of what we used with our sulfuric acid. Although the manway covers on the tank would have only been steel, but I'm pretty sure all those parts were stainless. I just don't know if it was
okay.
306 or 316, but oh, it keeps showing the live version of my photos.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I had to put that back on the valve, but the two pieces I made for it. So there we go. That's what it was
oh,
supposed
there
to
we
look
go.
like.
before and after shots.
Yeah.
So this is the used,
Yeah.
and this is brand new.
It
Oh man,
was insane.
it just decimated it.
Yep. Yep. Oh, I don't know if it says on it what it is. It doesn't look like stainless. Some of the parts
Oh,
do though, but
yeah, sometimes. What's that say?
I don't know.
Can't tell.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, there you go. Another side by side, old and new.
Right? It's wild.
Yeah. You're doing a good job as far as cataloging what you do. Like when I'm doing stuff as well, I'll take pictures and everything like that just so you have a sort of a history of what you've encountered.
Exactly.
And when if anybody ever asks you, you have the pictures to show them like, oh, this is the thing, or this is the part I need, or
Yeah.
if you're talking to a salesman, same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
look at that.
Oh, there's the pinhole leak
Oh,
from the beginning.
is that the pinhole
You
leak?
can see the water coming out there. That was the leak that was constantly happening. Yeah.
Oh, the one that you
From
stuck
before
the
the punch into. Yeah.
oh the punch in?
Yeah.
Oh,
And then later
okay.
drilled and tapped because the second one came. It was so bad. So bad.
I know. It's just
Yeah.
that's marking where it is.
Yeah. Just so they knew once the
And
tank was empty. That was an old weld that they had done
that's old weld. Yeah, okay.
before it was too thin to do anymore.
Oh, and that's all insulated too. I can see the insulation that was cut away.
Yeah. And so the
I
steam
see.
coming to the boiler goes into this tank, and if they do it too quickly, it kind of flashes. And I think that's what was giving us the most problems. It's just doing it a little too fast.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
What are these guys?
those are the internals of diaphragm pumps. That was my constant issue. There was swapping out and repairing diaphragm pumps and trying to make 3 pumps into one and using whatever parts I could.
Oh,
Eventually I got
oh
all
yeah, you can
into
see part.
right. Eventually I got into all Yamadas and they were consistent, and then I had a nice stock of parts as well, and they had better wear parts in them, but a guy that was there years and years ago, anytime a pump would fail, he would switch it to a diaphragm pump.
Oh,
Yeah.
he figured less trouble or something, but
Just
I
easier
mean,
for him, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wouldn't have been my choice,
if you
but
get a good pump, yeah, if you don't worry about gallons per minute, you know, diaphragm pumps aren't the fastest when it comes to pumping stuff out.
no.
You can't overspeed them either, otherwise you'll wreck the damn things
Oh,
because they'll
exactly.
wreck those diaphragms.
Yeah. It
But
doesn't
yeah,
take
yeah, you can
much.
see them there, and see there's the part of the diaphragm there, and the rod that goes through,
Yeah.
and yeah, those guys.
Yeah. Then on the bottom is kind of where the shuttle valve is.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. They're kind of upside down. The muffler is there. It was always funny when I put them back together, and I was always like, "Hey, make sure I put the muffler on," and then I'd give it back to them, and then I'd be in the shop, and then I go, "Oh crap!" and I'd run out there with the muffler. I'm like, "Don't start it. It's gonna be loud."
Yeah, that's right. You need because being air operated diaphragm pumps, they are pretty darn loud.
Yeah.
And this is the saying we're going to live by here in the maintenance field. Every 20-minute job is one broken bolt away from becoming a 3-day ordeal.
Yeah.
And I
So true.
suppose that you and me, we've lived through this,
Yeah.
and we that's why we're a little careful now than some of the younger ones that want to get the job done like super fast.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, and here we go. That
Oh,
is your
there's the
full
full
getup
suit.
for
Yeah.
acid, isn't it?
Yep. That's what I had to wear regardless of temperature. I think the one day there was a seized pump off the caustic tank, so I had to wear that full gear, and I knew the mechanical seal had clearly failed. The pump was not turning, but they still wanted to see if I could make it turn. So I wore that 40
Okay.
degrees, and I'm using a pipe wrench to try and turn the shaft to be like, yep, see, the pump is
That
seized. Regardless, the
that
mechanical seal has failed and it has to come out, but sure, I'll turn the shaft for you.
that's 40 degrees Celsius, everybody, not
Yes.
Fahrenheit. So
Yes.
that's what, 80 Fahrenheit, 90 Fahrenheit.
It's quite
That's
warm.
damn hot to be dressed up in that suit.
Yeah. The operators had it worse cleaning tanks. They would come out and dump their boots out of their sweat. So I can't really complain that much.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yeah, that is. And I thought I was bad when I had to wear a CS2 suit where I'm at now.
Yeah.
It doesn't breathe at all.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's oh right. And I didn't get to. This is obviously your
Trade school again. Yeah. Working on alignments.
grade school, learning on
Doing
coupling
dials.
alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. But then there's this one here,
Yes, this
the
video is
first
pretty
one here.
cool. So, yeah, you can read it, but also I didn't have a harness. You can't climb up on anything at this site. Like anything off the ground, you need a harness. And this was a chute. It was at a cement plant and they needed to know what size of plate to put in there. So I fed my tape measure up and got it to hook on the one side and then gently fed it so it would go straight across. And then I zoomed in with my phone and got the measurement. So it was 12 and a quarter. They're like, how did you get that? And I was like, here's the video. I did not climb up anywhere. So,
There you go, people. That is skills.
yeah.
Hey, I like that when you can see I can appreciate that.
Right?
It's like, okay, you managed to get that without breaking any of the rules
Yep.
and you just used what you had on you. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
And welcome to you, DJ Ronnie G. You love a good extractor, don't we all?
Just feels so good.
Feels good when it comes out and doesn't break off in when you're trying to wrench it over.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, that's excellent. And that's I believe that's it. I think we've gone through all of your photos.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and that was when you're at the doing water chemicals.
Yeah.
But then you've moved on from that now, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So I was doing some coordinating there, working with contractors and everything, as well as planning and budgeting and all that jazz. So that job actually led me into my current job, which is maintenance day-to-day planning for the millwright, all the millwrights. So that's pretty cool. Anything that pops up, I plan it and I go through the steps of what needs to be done without telling them how to do their job. And then I plan out the hours it's going to take. And then if there's any materials that are needed, I add that onto a list to make sure we have all the right stuff. It's more computer, but you still get to go out in the field as well. Take photos, kind of see what all the equipment is and stuff, and see if there's anything else that needs repaired. But it's actually quite a bit of fun and I enjoy it. So I get to go through and change a lot of things and build lists that I can use in the future to plan jobs. And then I get feedback from all the millwrights and on what's working and what's not, or correcting parts and everything. So it's a pretty cool job. It was a nice
It
transition.
does sound good.
Yeah.
Because I know you're very organized. You can't stand things not being organized, and it's almost an obsession with you.
Absolutely, it is. I think one of the first days where I knew you and I were going to get along, and I think you knew you and I were going to get along, we were taking apart something. I can't remember what it was. Maybe the poly, something with the poly. And I grabbed a piece of cardboard, and every part I took off, I circled and then wrote down what it was and had it all set out in order of what we took
Yep.
apart. So when we put it back together, because the other guy we were working with was just throwing things on the ground, and I was like, no, 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 no. We're gonna lose parts and things aren't gonna go back together. And you looked and I think you're like, okay, yeah, this might be good. So
Yep.
yeah.
You can usually tell as soon as within like I don't know, maybe an hour of working with someone what they're going to be like and whether they're going to uh, sort of work out as it were.
Yeah.
And yep, you did the right things.
Yeah. Totally. I think you need to be passionate as a millwright and really enjoy doing it and enjoy running into roadblocks and constantly having your back up against the wall, especially in maintenance. New build's a little different. You can get away with stuff, but as soon as you're in maintenance, you end up with your back against the wall a lot, and you got to find a way to fix it and get the plant running and make things work well and keep things running well. So it's if you're not passionate about that, it becomes very difficult. So
Yep. Yep. You want to, sorry. And one thing I tell everybody a lot of things, but
yeah,
one of them is make sure you're in trades for the right reason.
yeah,
If you think you're, oh, I'm in it to just make money. Well, I'm going to question how good your skills are as being in the trades. Like if you're just in it for the money, maybe you're not going to do as good a job as someone who's in it because they like what they do.
yeah, exactly. And you make more work for other people, which the passionate ones will do regardless. And as long as you're willing to learn, you'll do great. But as soon as you're that person that doesn't want to learn and doesn't really want to be there and want to drag your feet, you just make everyone else mad.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So and you gotta pick. They gotta pick it up too. Yeah, where I'm at now, it's good because the guys know, hey, you're the lone guy there, and sometimes I can't do everything by myself, so I'll need a hand occasionally,
nice.
you know, and just getting things done. And they take the time to explain because I didn't learn how the plant worked like they did. They're operators. I'm maintenance. I know how machinery works, but I don't know the process. So
Yeah,
they have to explain to me the process. I'm like, "Can I do this right now?" And they're like, "No, you have to wait till this." Oh, okay. And it's just stuff like that.
yeah, exactly. And they have so much knowledge and they'll have so much experience and well as well to be able to tell you like, hey, this is how this broke before and we had the similar instance and we fixed it by doing this. And sometimes they have really good insight on stuff. So if you're at a good site, which it sounds like you are, where you can actually get help from the operators, it's a huge game changer from other sites where they have no interest in helping you and you just want to say, hey, don't you want your plant running so you can keep making money and you have a job? But
I guess they don't see it that way. They're not very sharp when it comes to seeing the that side of it where,
yeah,
hey, if I help out in maintenance, if I help the maintenance person out, the plant's going to run. And, I explained to the guys where I'm at now, my job is to keep the plant having zero downtime. That is my primary function. Zero downtime. The plant's running great. That's good.
yeah,
And I tell that to them, like, this is my job here. And hopefully they're on board when it comes to me telling them that.
yeah, exactly.
I do have one or two movies to show you, and
Cool.
I think you'll this will bring back some memories, I think.
Oh,
But do you remember the hall that where they would turn up all the compost?
yep. It's a very, very stinky place where you could not leave work
Yep,
without showering.
yep, yep. This is what happened when they found that wrinkle in the roof. They decided to tear it down.
Yeah. Are you standing on the plenum?
Yes,
Nice.
I just had to get some, because I'm like, well, they're tearing it down and it won't be around anymore, and I just needed to get some for posterity, just for
Absolutely.
memory, for my memories.
And they took that building down pretty quick and it was massive.
It
Yeah.
was what is it? Each bay was 600 feet long and 80 feet wide.
Yeah.
That's just the bays. So the building itself was like maybe 1,000 feet long, and what does that be? 300 feet wide. But I got a little closer,
Nice.
and you can see. I just wanted to because we were talking about demolition the one day on my stream, and I was showing the guys that, hey, this is how they took our building down
Yeah, that's
with
cool.
just an excavator, just pushing out the supports, and the building just sort of crumbled.
Yeah. They're so skilled doing that that it doesn't fall anywhere else.
Yeah, but yeah, he's just going along, and he's just like push, and then goes along some more, and he just push, and that was it. building just comes down slowly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember being back there and
Having
finding a fully grown spaghetti squash. Do you remember that? No one planted
was
it,
that
but
something that was growing in there?
it clearly went through somebody's body and the seed ended up there. So,
There
or
you
through the
go.
compost or
Yeah,
something. But yeah, there was a spaghetti squash and I forget what else. I was trying to convince one of the guys that worked there to take it home, but they wouldn't.
no dice, eh?
Ran it over with
No,
the
I'm not
side by
demanding.
side, I think.
Oh, DJ Ronnie G, what's he say? He thought I was watching the Wright brothers. Okay, not quite, but you recently bought a somewhat disappointing construction simulator for Nintendo. You just want to play with an excavator? Well, those are
Yeah,
fun to hop into and operate.
absolutely.
You know,
They're
you
super fun.
you can do a lot. Yeah, you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I took on that last. I shouldn't say on that last day, but during the time they were tearing it down, I did go down there and took some photos as well, just to show what it looked like.
Yeah, that's wild.
And you can see, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that you can see now, yeah, the ends of the drums. They used to stick into that building, but the building's not there anymore, so they are just hanging out in space there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, just random photos of tanks.
Oh, yeah.
I You remember some of these, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, right below
There's the
is
one
where we'd have to
that's right. Yeah,
move all the
that's
poop first before we could work on anything.
yeah, yeah. The centrifuges were above this tank, and
Yeah.
they would drop all the solids into it. Yeah, and that's where all the centrate went.
Yeah. As not great of a job that place was, I think we had the best crew, and that was probably my favorite crew of people to work with at that site, which was awesome. Everyone was just wicked.
It makes a big difference the people you work with, for sure.
Yeah. We had
All the way up
so many
from
laughs
from
and
oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, all the way up from like the crew lead, all the way to the welder, the electrician,
Yeah.
the the
Instrument.
other millwrights,
Yeah.
the instruments guys. Yep, they're 100%. You know what? There was nothing we couldn't handle, and I was very confident when something happened,
Yeah.
and I could look at every single one of the crew and be like, "This person has my back, and we're going to get this job done because they're awesome."
Yeah. Exactly. We all crossed trades, helped whoever. It was awesome.
Yep, I agree. It was one of the better, like I say, one of the best crews I've been a part of.
Yeah, same here. Definitely.
DJ run a shitty tank? Yes, yes, it was.
I should
You
eat
don't know the
everything.
half of it.
Yeah.
Having to uh, having
Rubber
to
boots.
change the shear bolts.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I don't know. Did you ever do that? Change the shear bolts on the augers that were underneath that tank?
I think you and I did some, but then it ended up being shift change maybe. But we
Okay.
definitely had it apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, changing the shear bolts out was just horrific because you couldn't stop the poo from coming in on you. So
Yes.
you'd clear it away, and then you'd pull the bolt out, and then it
Yep.
would still keep coming, and you clearing it away, and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
what a rough time.
So crazy to
uh,
think back, but yeah.
so now you're in maintenance planning.
Yep.
You think you're gonna stick by that for the rest of your career? Then you're gonna be like head maintenance planner or something like that where you are.
That would be cool. I think I'll keep going as far as I can up because I feel like you just learn so much in every position you do, which is pretty cool. So the more I learn about the plant and the more I learn about planning and show my value, then I think I have lots of opportunity to grow from there as well and just see where things go. But for now, I'm definitely super happy in my position and what I'm doing, and like you said, being able to be meticulous and thorough with everything and make things better and easier. So that's pretty cool.
That's excellent. So, if anybody wants to get into the trades, do you have any advice for them?
To get into the trades, yeah, take a program. If you don't have a company that will just blindly kind of hire you on, you can do, I think, 4 or 6 week programs even. You don't have to do like the 2 year degree that I did before, because that 2 year degree was phenomenal. And it doesn't matter what age you are. When I was in school, yeah, I think I was 20 or 21, or I was done when I was 21. I can't remember. And there were people in my class that were 17 and people that were 50. It didn't matter. And you learned so much in 2 years. It was insane. We spent 9 hours a week in the shop and I think 3 hours a week welding. We did instrument, PLC, hydraulics, pneumatics, everything. So you actually got exposed to everything in the millwright trade, where when you go out and get a job, you end up kind of specializing depending on where you go. So it's harder to get more experience. But even if you take a 6 week intro course, that'll help you get a job for sure. And then watch for companies that will take on apprentices and stuff too, and network the best you can. And I mean, anyone can obviously reach out to me if they're in Edmonton or Canada or wherever. I can guide in any direction as you could too. So if you're into it, try it,
Yep.
and why not?
Yep. Yeah, and I've gone over in the stream too, in earlier streams about how to get into them, whether it's by, like you say, getting indentured at a employee or as an employer will indenture you, or yeah, take those courses, make yourself um, really valuable to the company, and any kind of training you can take. It all looks good on your resume. You want to outshine people. You're going for that job of yours. Uh, a good example was this one I got now, this job. I was quite worried, and I got help from our instrument guy about writing certain keywords into your resume so that if
Nice.
it gets searched by a bot or whatever, it'll pick out keywords. And then I got a referral from you, which was probably a big help as well.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I tried to kill it at the interview,
Yeah.
which lasted about 5 hours. So
Oh, they're so
I think
long.
when your interview lasts 5 hours, I think it's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. They're so thorough when they ask you, when you get to our point and being a journeyman and having years and years in the trade and your experience, the interviews go from, oh, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to get into the trade, to here's specific scenarios. Explain to me what you would do in this situation. And it just builds from there, and it's very thought out questions and answers that if you don't know and you don't have the experience, it's going to show really quick.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They should be able to fish out. It's like, oh, this guy is just trying to snow us or whatever, and it's like, or they can be like, oh, okay, yep, they know what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Rock tanks for the inciting. Hey, no problem, DJ Ronnie G. We're glad we aim to please.
Totally. I'm glad everyone showed up. It's awesome.
Yeah. I'd just like to say thanks, everybody. Everyone that's in the chat and anybody that's lurking out there, we appreciate you tuning in. Um, Cece, do you have anything coming up? I know we talked about your job and such, but you do have a YouTube channel?
I do, yes. I don't post a ton on there at this time. There's some videos on there, but yeah, maybe I should post some more millwright stuff on there. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's up to you. Like, if you want to add more content, I'm sure everybody would like to look into that and see what you're doing. So
Totally. I
yeah,
think my TikTok probably has the most videos on it of random how-tos, which are kind of funny and ridiculous, but yeah, everything's kind of live well with Cece on everything. So Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube maybe put the number 4 at the end, but other than that, they're all the same.
Okay, so live well with Cece. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And says Super Duper Sonic. Hey, welcome. Well, you're welcome for a great show. We try to put on a good show. So yes, well, yes, we're about at the end here. I'd like to thank you, Cece, for coming on. It was really great having you. I hope you had a good time as well.
Definitely. I appreciate you having me on, Pop.
Yeah, and everyone else in the chat, thanks you. I thank you all, and just I'm going to just close out the show now. I'll let you know what's coming up on next or my next stream. Um, yeah, so thanks everybody that came out here. Angry Canadian, DJ Ronnie G, Godzillionaire, Super Duper Sonic. You guys are great. Anybody else that was lurking, I appreciate you. Please do me a favor, slap that like button. It lets YouTube know that you like what you saw today and you want to see more. And I will try to bring on more guests in the future to speak about these skilled trades because I believe it's important. There is a shortage out there right now, and they need to be filled. And it's not something that should be looked down upon like it was in the past. Tradesmen make excellent money. They do great jobs. They learn a skill for life, and nobody can ever take it away from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell your friends and spread the word. There's other channels out there too. If you want to visit people there that I've seen out there, guys like Pacific 4 and 4 and Blaine from Blaine's Escape Corner, Ronan66 and DJ Ronnie G. There's Brandon the Anime Guy, the Nerdporeal Lifeform. There's our own Angry Canadian. Whoopa Troopa, he's out there with Dadman Walking. And Punkwaddle at Floral from Under a Rock. And he also has his own channel now too. So you like Punkwaddle? He's got his own channel. I'm out there. I've got Discord. It's called The Shop because that's where tradesmen hang out. They hang out at the shop. So I'm out there on Twitter, and mostly for advertising my channel. I don't try to get too involved in Twitter stuff because it just gets a little out of hand. I've got some videos on BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble, just because they're not as heavy-handed as YouTube with the copyright claims. Coming up Saturday. Saturday is my game stream. I'll be playing The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So please join me for that. Sunday is anime chat. Last week I did Pop's Choice, and I'm going to continue that on this Sunday. It will all be about underappreciated or anime that I feel should get more exposure. And then once again, it circles back around to Tuesday. Will be Trades Talk Tuesday next time, and hopefully I will have another guest. I'll try my best. But until then, everyone, this has been Pop and Cece, and we are signing off.